it's our pleasure to welcome to the stage this morning's keynote speaker and panel moderator, Dr. Justin Aglio. Justin is dubbed the godfather of AI education. He's an associate vice president at Penn State Outreach and the executive director of the Readiness Institute. He's a national leader in K-12 AI education and innovation, and he's recognized widely for advancing equitable, future-ready learning. Justin, we're so grateful to have your insights to ground us today.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much. And round of applause for Betty and her team for convening everyone today. I want to thank all of you for showing up today. At the Franco Harris Penn State Center in Pittsburgh here, there's a quote on the wall. It says, "The right place, the right time, and no luck." Obviously, Franco was talking about the Immaculate Reception, but he talked about the importance of showing up. So thank you so much for showing up. I never get in front of an audience without thanking you, because you could be at work, you could be at school, you could be in bed, I wouldn't blame you. But you're here today, so thank you for getting through the snow, and thank you for showing up today. So just a quick show of hands. Artificial intelligence. How many people, in this room, be honest, we're all friends here, a little bit scary, raise your hand. All right, see, a hand went up super quick back here, yes. Okay, hands. How many people a little bit exciting, or a lot exciting about AI? Okay, it's about 60-40 split. Last question. How many people are excited and scared at the same time about AI? Oh, I'm going to solve the hand. Very good. Very good. So I like that. So the thing is, no matter how much we debate on scary, how exciting it is, or both, there's 10 new tools, as I speak right now, being developed on AI. What was developed yesterday, gained and probably doubled today. And it's going to increase tomorrow. And it's going to keep increasing. So as much as we debate about it, whether it's scary, exciting, or anything like that, change is here. And change is here no matter if we like it or not. And we have to adapt to these changes. I'm going to tell you a quick story about change. It's probably going to put you a little bit more at comfort. So Mr. Rogers, we all know Mr. Rogers, right? Fred Rogers. Did you know the very first episode ever of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, Fred Rogers talked about change? Because King Friday was all against change. He talked about he didn't want to change the wall, he didn't want to change the tree. He went on and on how he's against change. But Charlie came back and he came to Mr. Rogers and he told Mr. Rogers about King Friday. And Mr. Rogers said, "Gee, I knew someone who changed their bed from this side of the room to that side of the room." And they woke up the next day and they said, "Gee, you know what? I've got some new ideas. And change is good." So here we are 50 years ago talking about how Mr. Rogers talked about change is good. And change leads to new ideas. And if you know me, I'm all about new ideas. And sometimes people say, "Justin, you have too many new ideas." Well, let me tell you a quick story. We need new ideas. My mother died 6 years ago of cancer. Went through chemotherapy. I asked the doctor, I said, "How do you get her medicines? How do you regulate what her chemotherapy is?" And they said, "Well, we use research, we use technology, algorithms." I said, "You mean like AI?" And he said, "Yeah, exactly, artificial intelligence." I dug into it more and more. And here we are, University of Washington, looking at 40 years of research, coming up with new treatments and early detections on cancer. And students in science fair competitions from all over the country coming up with new treatments at 14 years old on skin care and skin cancer and so forth. So we need new ideas, but we can only advance things like cancer through artificial intelligence. And that's the truth. Those are the facts, because we have the technology, and it's getting better and better and better every day. We also need more ideas on accessibility for people with disabilities. We need translating languages in real time, identifying climate patterns, improving clean water. Every day children die because they don't have access to clean water. So opening doors now that were once closed. And to kind of bring it down on the surface a little bit, how many in this room, be honest, have TikTok? I think there's more hands than that. I see hands like this even going up like this. So TikTok, I'm guessing you've never read the service agreements in TikTok. So let's talk digital safety with AI. TikTok, when you get permission, has access to all your photos, all your apps, cuts your biometric features, your GPS, your voice, All your, everything it collects. Who owns TikTok? Anyone? Anyone? What country? China. And it's not a public company, it's a private company. So every time you're on TikTok, it's collecting all the information that's being sent off somewhere. Let's talk about jobs. AI influences every single sector. Everything, every industry, from healthcare to criminal justice system to education. And last but not least, let's talk about equity. We're here today talking about AI, but there's not a lot of people here, and they're not talking about AI. One school's talking about it, one school's not. One city like Pittsburgh's talking about it, we're leading it. Other cities are not. One country is, one country's not. How can we increase the equity so more people have access, more people understand AI? So I'm excited. I'm excited about AI. Here's why. Because I look at an audience right now. I'm going to be talking to panelists here soon that are fearless, that are optimistic to change the world. And I'm excited for that because we need to change the world. We have tools, like I said, to change the world for good. But we have to do it together. We have to learn from each other. We cannot be isolated. Betty talked about 10 years ago or so, we started the first artificial intelligence program in the country, K-12. When I talked to a group of teachers, I said, you're going to be the first AI teachers in the world. They looked at me and said, I don't know anything about AI. And I said, yeah, but you know what's good for kids. You know what's good for growth mindset. And they said, you know what? If I teach AI for 1 week, I'll become an expert. And I can share that expertise with somebody else. And together, we'll learn about AI. So that's what I encourage you today. Talk to each other. Say, hey, I don't know this. You know anything about it. It's not a competition. This is a collaboration with each other. So last but not least, I'm excited to introduce our next panel. So as I wrap up, I'm going to invite the panel, our opening keynote panel, to come to the stage. And I'm going to go ahead and set the tone for the panel as they come up. So we all know AI dominated global conversations this year, not as a novelty, but as an infrastructure, economics, and public good, and as a force that could reshape prosperity itself. AI has moved from being a future concept to something that is shaping daily life in classrooms, workplaces, healthcare, research, and public services. But global conversations don't shape outcomes on their own. Local choices do. So this morning, we're asking, what does the AI effect mean here for our community, and who gets to shape it, and how do we approach it thoughtfully and collectively? Today, you're given note cards. So I'm going to ask you, invite you to join the conversation. If you have a question for our panel, we're going to have 20 minutes of questions. Please write it on the note card you received at the registration table and pass it to one of the people and one of the volunteers around, and they'll collect it during the panel discussion. Or if you have a question now, go ahead and write it down. We'll go ahead and answer those questions with the panel as soon as we get started here, or after our conversation. Okay? Sounds good? All right, let's go ahead and get started then. All right, let's take it. All right, got a mic check there. Everybody's mics work? Yep. All right, perfect. All right. So, David. So we're going to go ahead and, good morning. We're going to go ahead and do some quick introductions. We're going to start with you and work our way down.
Sure.
And so if you could just say your name, title, organization, and we'll talk more later.
Thank you very much. Thanks to all of you for being here today. My name is David Hickton. I was the U.S. Attorney in the Obama administration here in Pittsburgh. And since then, I was the founding director of the University of Pittsburgh Institute for Cyber Law Policy and Security, also known as PittCyber. I'm also a proud member of the board of the World Affairs Council of Pittsburgh and president of the Betty Cruz Admiration Society.
I'm with you there. Yeah, same, ditto.
Co-presidents. Love it. Thank you, David.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Delvina Morrow. I am the founder of YMU AI, which stands for Your Mission Unstoppable. I also worked for a little team called the Pittsburgh Penguins that many of you may know, where I led our diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. Yeah, we can clap for the Penguins.
Yes. Hockey's exciting.
And excited to be here today.
Hi everyone, my name is Ketaki Desai. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a tech startup called DashStrom, and we help kids reach their true potential through physical challenges. I'm also a CMU alum and a 3-time Pittsburgh boomerang.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. I'm very excited to chat with the three of you today, and we're going to get this panel started. And I'm going to start actually over with you, David, for the first question. So globally, we're beginning to understand AI not just as a software, but as an infrastructure, connected to data centers, chips, and energy systems. Control over the infrastructure is becoming a source of economic and political leverage. David, what does that mean for a region like Pittsburgh, and what do we need to be paying attention to now?
We need to seize the opportunity. The reason I get invited to panels like this is when I became U.S. Attorney, I realized that because of CMU, Pitt, CERT, SciLab, and most importantly, the great people of the city of Pittsburgh, we had an opportunity to lead the way on cyber. And my mission then was to apply law to the internet, and we ultimately became the tip of the spear for cyber enforcement in the United States here at Pittsburgh. The same is true now with regard to this emerging challenge of AI. We have an AI strike force here in Pittsburgh. You've probably read that at Bakery Square, big announcements were made about financial commitments and otherwise. We have the resources, we have the talent, and we hopefully have the will that we can be the place, not only in the United States, but around the world, where cyber and AI come together and we connect the next frontier.
Thank you so much, David. Anyone else want to share about what's happening in Pittsburgh now that they're involved with that can contribute to?
So I've been in tech for the last 15 years. We work with kids a lot. That's basically what we do. We go to schools and we provide this programming for after-school enrichment. The thing that we're hearing and the thing that we're seeing is the inequity in terms of access. And I think that's something that we want to always make sure that we're mindful of, because if we don't have equitable access to AI across the youth, then we're not going to be able to fulfill all those incredible things that we're saying that we can. And that's something, you're probably going to hear this from me like 100 times today.
And I would just quickly add, infrastructure is also about knowledge, and we talk about the CMUs and the Pitts and Duquesnes, but there are hundreds of nonprofits here in Pittsburgh that simply don't have access. When you look at, what's the average salary that a CAIO is making, nonprofits can't afford that. So how do we really equip nonprofits to make sure that they don't get left behind in this AI race?
That's a good point. Those are great points on that. So we have a lot of high school students here today. So raise your hand, high school students.
Oh, wow.
That's beautiful. I love it. I love it. Thank you again for showing up. It's amazing.
Just like me, you're sitting in the back.
So we have a lot of high school students here today who have graduated in the world of AI, where AI is embedded, like we said, across industries and just everything. Speaking directly to the high school students who will navigate the future shaped by AI, what capacities would you tell them to focus on developing? Skills, mindsets, ethics, maybe something else? And I'll leave it open to anyone.
I would say really think about how you interact with people. We are more and more attached to our devices and technology than ever. Obviously, AI is working to automate so much, and the people who will really make an impact are the people who can actually still connect with one another and understand. We talk about soft skills often, and I think that those skills are more important now than ever.
Yeah, I'll add to what Delvina said. So we're seeing this with the kids, right? We're seeing that everyone, and it's not just kids, actually adults. I mean, how many of us on a weekend after work is done, we're like, oh my God, I have 30 minutes, I'm gonna doom scroll. You don't go there thinking you're gonna
30 hours.
Yeah, and then you're at it. What that is doing is this like need for passive engagement is taking away the critical thinking skills. And we're seeing this right from little kids all the way up to adults. Those critical thinking skills enable us to engage better on screen because we question how LLMs work. We question what biases are included, right? When we have those critical thinking skills, we're better able and better prepared to deal with some of these issues that AI presents. So I feel like that is one important thing. The other thing is, I think going back to what Delvina said, right, what you're doing in front of screen, a lot of people want to engage in interaction with other people. You want to be able to do that away from a screen as well. We have such amazing values growing in Pittsburgh. I mean, like I said, 3 times boomerang, there's something very special about the city. And there's something special about the culture and the warmth of the people here. Building those relationships away from screens is going to be critical, because that is going to make you a good leader. Everyone is going to get AI skills. We're going to get to a place where AI becomes it is almost a commodity, right? So what will make you stand out is your ability to have focus when you're presented with so much content. How do you get out of that and be able to focus on doing the things that you need to do and being a leader, and then building the relationships outside of screens?
I just want to say that as the father of 6 adult children, I've seen the digital age from instant messaging to generative AI. And my message to all of you students is you need to engage fully, but you need to also be mindful that you cannot be absorbed by the digital platform. There's plenty of information out there about how you can get lost if you spend too much time on the digital platform. And I think there's a reason why our principal economic adversary, China, is limiting people to 45 minutes of digital time per day.
So a lot of you talked about who needs to be in the conversation. We talked about the AI strike force. We talked about high school students, but in reality, who's missing from the conversation? Because you talked about equity and so forth. So who should be involved in the conversation with the AI that's maybe missing that we need to do a better job at engaging?
Let me just say that I really want to put a punctuation mark on the point about equity and availability. I'm one who believes that our digital assets have to be as available as almost electricity. I worked for the great Jim Clyburn during the coronavirus crisis. He's a longtime friend of mine, and he talked about a Baptist preacher in the South who years ago used to say at church, "I have God in my heart, but I want electricity in my home." And that's true now with regard to the digital platform. When we were doing the work trying to chase the COVID pandemic, I was stunned to find out that almost half the country did not have broadband access. And many that were within the broadband access did not have the ability to purchase the devices. So parents during COVID were driving to Starbucks to harvest internet so their students could do their work, and they fell behind. And the opportunity gap in this country is a great threat to all of us, and if we do not pay apt attention to the subject of availability, equity, and making sure access is universal, we're going to suffer from it.
There you go. Good. Round of applause. Thank you. That's great.
Yeah, ditto everything you just said, David. I feel like the people that are not at the table are the educators. Mm-hmm. Educators are being told to use AI, find a way to integrate this into your education, but they're not at the table making decisions. And we see this every day, and this is basically why I'm worried, because we need educators. We need the people that are training and supporting, and Jill, I don't see Jill here, but the people that are the voice of the students, to be the voice of the students in the rooms where that's needed.
She's teaching, that's why she had to go to school to teach. Just real quick, how many educators in the room? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Do you feel like you're engaged in any part of AI with your school or community?
Sound mix.
Kind of a mix, okay. But it should be more thumbs up, right?
And I would say not just in the community, I feel like in the tech world, where decisions are being made about ethics of AI, about how AI gets used, about who gets to use AI, and what kinds of gates are we putting or not, which we're really not.
And I have 2 that I'll touch on. So obviously I mentioned the nonprofit sector. The nonprofit sector is historically left behind when it comes to technology advancements. I'm a part of the Fundraising AI Council, and it's one of the only initiatives that's really focused on readying the nonprofit sector for the AI boom, making sure there are policies and procedures in place to ensure that AI is supporting organizational missions and not replacing it in a very harmful way. Another very obvious group that's left out are Indigenous BIPOC people. My husband is white, and if I put an image of him into, say, ChatGPT and ask them to edit it, perfect, flawless. Me, it's like, what the? I won't say what I'm gonna say, but I'm like, what just happened here? How did you get this so wrong? And so when you think about AI and the people that are building AI, they're not building it oftentimes with BIPOC people in mind in terms of using it. And so that's just a huge issue I think that we have right now, all around AI.
I agree. And just to note, want to note Gender Shades out of MIT. Great study, great videos. Joy's amazing. She talks a lot about that. So we talked about who should be engaged and so forth. And we talked about AI is moving fast, right? Continues. And a lot of educators say, well, I'm trying to slow down, I'm trying to be responsible. I'm trying to do this with ethics. But as you said, companies are not. They're moving at the speed of light.
Yep.
So where's that balance of being responsible, but also moving fast enough to keep up with the current work demands and the current trends of AI, jobs and so forth? There's a balance there. Can you talk about that balance a little bit of being responsible, but trying to keep up at the same time?
I mean, I think that innovation and safety have to coexist. And so as you're looking at implementing and introducing AI into your organization, you have to create parameters. You have to talk about what is AI allowed to touch and what must it absolutely not touch at all, and really help to create that framework. When we look at organizations, oftentimes people say, okay, well, we're gonna have a head of AI and they're going to be responsible for this, and that is completely the wrong approach unless you are an organization that's actually doing the coding. For everyday organizations, you need AI implementation to happen across the entire organization, starting with your leadership, to ensure that everyone truly does understand the rules of this road, right, that we're all on right now. And so that would be my take on that.
And I'm going to have you keep going here because I know you're passionate about this. We talked about leadership in the workplace, but leadership in the household, right? Parents being leaders of it. Can you talk about that? Because I know that's something you're really engaged with.
Yeah, and so I have a 4-year-old, and obviously in my household we use technology a lot, and we don't we allow her to also experiment, and we started creating books using Gemini at night, and she was allowed to create a prompt. So she would say, I want to see an elephant and a cat dancing, and so we would come up with all of these stories using Google Gemini's notebook feature that they have, our storybook feature. And so we would teach her how to actually ask the right questions. And at one point she said, oh, well, I want to see a lion without its skin. She had no idea what she was asking for, but we had to pause and say, okay, this is not safe. These are not the type of questions we can ask a GPT or something of that nature. But for a 4-year-old who all of a sudden has all of this access to information, it's amazing. But there's also a lot of parameters as parents, as leaders, that we have to put in place and say, yes, use this tool, experiment, have fun with it. I mean, these tools are so much fun. But let's talk about safety. I've seen so many people do these ChatGPT caricatures, and people don't realize how unsafe that is in terms of all of the data and information, your image, and things that you are sharing. So, yeah.
That's a good point.
So that's really fantastic. I'm going to talk a little bit about that balance first, and then come back to because Delvina's story just sparked something. So I grew up I was born in India, and I didn't have a computer until I was in undergrad. I was probably 18 years old. That was the first time I had a computer. We couldn't afford one. I'm not off the quote-unquote computer generation, and yet today I'm leading a tech startup. I have run programs that are billion-dollar programs, teaching technology, or leading teams that are doing technology. And I feel like the biggest thing that we were taught growing up, and I'm sure a lot of us can agree with that, is this idea of critical thinking, right? Question what you see. And even what you were just sharing, Delvina, this idea of, you understanding as a parent that these are not things that we want to do because that means that it's unsafe, is because we have those critical thinking skills. I feel like and the reason why I shared my story is because I got to where I got to because of that curiosity, that ability to ask questions, the critical thinking to assess what is right and what is wrong for me, the ethics and the morality of it, right? As long as we have that, we're good. Because we want technology to be going past the speed of light. That's how we will potentially at some point cross the speed of light. I'm a huge science fiction nerd, so everything I want to happen. I want to be able to experience a wormhole. I want to be able to experience, all these like time travel things. It's like probably the only thing I want to do. But in order to be the kind of leaders that can lead that future and be decision makers in that future, we need to have those critical thinking skills, that ability to question. And one of the stories that I wanted to share, the anecdotes that I want to share, so we talked to a lot of parents who do our programming in their schools for kids, and we had a parent ask this question: I want my kid to be in an Ivy League when they grow up. I don't want them to be left behind. How do I stop them from using AI and learning about AI? And we were like, how old is your kid? And I think he said like 6. And I had a jaw drop moment. And I'm like, yes, 100%. But understand that there is critical development that happens in these ages where you don't want addiction to take over your need for learning. So that's where the balance needs to happen.
Thank you.
I think the operative words are use the tool. You have to use the tool liberally, or else you'll fall behind. But if you're talking about a 4-year-old using an iPad that they get at school, if they spend the entire day watching Peppa Pig, that's one set of facts. If they spend it in learning, they're going to be fine. If you use a law student writing a brief, use it the way I use it. I use it at the beginning, I use it at the end, but I never completely rely upon it because of the risk of hallucination. I'm a proud dog owner. Sometimes I think I'm walking a dog. Most of the time I think the dog was walking me. Use the tool. You have to make sure that this technology can work for us. And my liberal bent on it can be reflected by a story. It was November 22 that ChatGPT came out. And we were in a faculty meeting here at Pitt, and the question was, what were we going to do about use of AI on exams? And I raised my hand and said, any student who uses AI is going to get an A+ from me. And everyone looked in mock horror. To me, if you use the tool properly, this is no different than going from math tables to a slide rule to a calculator to a PDA to a Google search for rote activity. But that which makes us human is our judgment. And if we surrender our judgment to the machines, we are in big trouble.
And can I just add, and that's such a good point, and for the educators in the room, use your students. I can guarantee you that most of the students in here can come up and be a part of this panel because they are so involved with AI right now. Have, as a part of your classroom, have an opportunity to say, we want to hear how you're using AI in this class. Allow students to present and share, so that way you're a part of the conversation and it doesn't become a shameful thing that students are doing. At the end of the day, our kids in the room, youth all around the world are using AI, and we have to be a part of the conversation with them.
That's great. I remember New York City, to your point, David, when January of 2024, they banned ChatGPT in schools. The summertime, they reversed the ban. And by the end of the year, December, they said teachers use ChatGPT in the classroom. So in 12 months, they were reversing back and forth. So we talked a lot of things about responsibility, and I gave some examples how AI can be used for good. So let me ask you, where do you see the greatest opportunity for AI to strengthen the public life and education, health, civic services, and beyond? And what other public good applications should we be investing in locally?
Well, we did a study at PittCyber I invite you to look at. It's at cyber.pitt.edu. And it was a study that was a community study on how algorithms and AI were being used by municipal governments. It was the first of its kind, and this tells the tale of two cities. It's okay to use AI. to get us out of the Steeler game fast. It's okay to use AI when we have a snowstorm, when Corey O'Connor has to allocate where the plows go.
Yeah.
It is not okay to reinforce racism by using AI to use zip codes to decide where we're going to police, what calls we're going to make, and in the sequence we're going to make the calls when we have a child welfare call, or most offensively to me, predicting rates of recidivism by criminals by looking at their zip code. We have seen a widespread use in the interest of cost and efficiency by governments of AI, and it's a wonderful tool, but it has to be used with caution and with care. And I think you should look at that study. It's never been done anywhere else, and we did it here in Pittsburgh. There was a lot of community outreach, and one of the best things we did was make people aware of how it was being used.
And what's that website again? So, okay.
cyber.pitt.edu, or you can just put in your search engine PittCyber.
Thank you.
I would say one of the greatest opportunities is definitely helping organizations already doing public good multiply their impact. When you think about the nonprofit sector specifically, these are individuals who are overworked and understaffed, and if we use AI to actually go in and help with some of the administrative burden, this allows an executive director, a program manager to actually do the work, actually go into the communities to meet with stakeholders, and that's the work that I'm really focused on in my company.
So I listen to a lot of Trevor Noah. How many of you listen to What Now? Trevor Noah. It's amazing. So there was this one episode about AlphaGo, which is the AI chess player, and there's Alpha something else, which is the protein folding using AI. To me, AI can do things that a human brain is not possible, cannot do, just not in terms of regular compute, but in terms of parallel, massive, multiple compute, right? And so on that episode about AlphaGo, this idea that the Grandmaster was playing against an AI chess machine and actually lost the first time and said, I am so happy because now I just learned all these moves that I didn't know existed. That to me is so powerful. It's like, wait, all these years we've been playing chess and there were certain moves that we had never computed because we just didn't understand it that well. That is where the power of AI is, right? Use this massive compute power to figure out how energy can be made more efficient across the world, how food can be made more accessible, how education can be made more affordable. All of these things come from AI. Like Duolingo is such a great example of how AI can be accessed by people everywhere across the world. And I feel so proud whenever I travel to every country and they tell me, oh, I'm learning this on Duolingo. And I'm like, that's a Pittsburgh company and a CMU company. But those are some of the things that I feel that AI is phenomenal. Like the idea of the traveling salesman problem, like when there's so many variables, AI can actually solve that, right? That is where we want to use AI. But going back to some of these examples, there are, when we don't teach our, populace, because I'm not pointing fingers at any demographic right now. I'm just saying when we don't teach our people that there are so many bad things, you might sit there and think, hey, maybe a chat room filled with AI agents is a great idea. Has anyone heard about Moldbot?
Oh yeah.
Right? Look up Moldbot, M-O-L-T-B-O-T, the recent craze that happened, which was a chat room filled with just AI agents.
They kicked the humans out, to be clear.
Yeah, this is kind of what happens when we take a step away from critical thinking and say, maybe, let me just try this because I can.
And that makes me think about, this is gonna sound very odd, Jurassic Park. My favorite line in Jurassic Park is, we were so preoccupied with if we could, we didn't stop to think if we should. When you're thinking about AI, when you're thinking about AI implementation, honestly, watch Jurassic Park. You will learn so much from it in terms of how do you even apply this to your day-to-day. Yeah, I could give my daughter a tablet and let her have a run for it, asking ChatGPT or whomever all of these questions, but just because I can doesn't mean I should. And that should apply to everything we do with AI.
And let me say right now, one thing you should engage on as public-spirited citizens is to debate about whether we're going to regulate AI. This current administration is of the view that we're in a Manhattan Project race against the rest of the world, and we are going to harness AI with no regulation for American superiority. I teach in Ireland, and in Europe they have an AI Act. They have a completely different point of view. Now I would point out that your dishwasher and your microwave are certified by Underwriters Laboratories so they don't destroy your house when you use them. But that's not considered regulation by some people. But what's going to happen, and Sam Altman, you know, these AI leaders are all like rock stars now. You have Jensen and Dario. Sam Altman in Delhi just this past week, again, for the umpteenth time over the last 3 years, has said, and I think we should pay deference because he's at the center of it, that he is very concerned about the dangers of AI. And he's outlined, look it up online, he's outlined the three to five concerns that really alarm him. And you're going to have more to say about all of that than anybody, because this is going to be a decision for all of you, whether or not we put some strictures and conditions and maybe guardrails around this emerging technology. In Europe, they have prohibited uses, allowed uses, and they have uses to be studied before they can hit the market, and they must be tested. I think that's a brilliant way to look at this.
So much to talk about, and within the next 5 years, we have teachers, educators, professionals, 300 people in this room right now. 5 years, 5 months, what's something they can do to be engaged with AI responsibly? Who should they engage with? Are there resources that you'd like? Are there groups that they should pay attention to locally here in Pittsburgh, but also resources that are accessible to them in Pittsburgh today?
That's a fantastic question. I mean, I think that question is answered by, it's the limit of your own imagination. I mean, we need to do so many things at the same time. We need to develop this technology, but we need to do it ethically and responsibly. We need to make sure we engage and learn the technology without proceeding down the path to brain rot, where we lose our capacity to think ourselves. We need to make sure that our community maintains and expands the wonderful platform we have to be a national leader on all things technology and all things policy. But most of all, and I think this point was made earlier, we need to recognize that every technology problem is really a human factors problem. Technology is a tsunami. We cannot stop it. In many ways, we cannot control it. What we do have control over is how we use technology. That's where we can actually have an impact.
The tools are moving so fast, so don't just trust one tool. If you're only using ChatGPT right now, please stop. Use Claude, use Gemini, use Perplexity. Really start to diversify, your portfolio of AI tools, so that way you're actually now a part of a thought process. The issue that I've seen with ChatGPT specifically, it's a yes tool, right? It gives you the answers, but it's very complimentary of what you're doing. So take that, and if you have a great idea, then throw it into Claude. Ask more questions. Have conversations in between these different tools. Don't just trust one tool.
So there's this concept of expert generalism. Expert generalism means that you can actually be a superficial expert across several different domains. That's the ability that AI can give you. So you might have interest in physics, you might have interest in economics, you might have interest in biology, but you don't have to go get a major in all of those things. You can learn on your own through ChatGPT. I feel like that is something that you can do. Imagine creating a group amongst your school, your teachers, you're at home with your parents, and saying, I want to learn this new skill, I want to learn this new topic. And then everything you learn, take back to your group and discuss in person, debate in person, and then ask those questions to your preferred form of a LLM. That is something you can do today. Find a topic that you're curious about. How do you build wormholes? You can start from there. But do that. And I think the more you ask those questions, debate, build those relationships outside of those screens, and use the power of something so powerful, I think you will be on the right track. I know it feels super overwhelming. That's probably how the internet felt to some of us when we were growing up. I'm old. And also I grew up in India. But the other one thing I do want to say is use your voice. Don't be afraid to speak up. Because we're going to need your voice, especially, I'm talking to the youth at the back, we need your voice. You're the future, you're the reason why all of this is happening, and you're gonna have to lead it. So the sooner you learn that your voice matters and feel that confidence that your voice matters, the better.
That's beautiful, well said. So we have amazing questions here that our audience submitted, but closing thoughts. 30 seconds each, and I'll cut you off at 30 seconds, but 30 seconds, a sentence or two that you just want to make sure you get out there and tell everyone.
Empathy is at the center of everything that we should be doing. So as you're going out and using these tools, always go back to empathy. Go back to what it means to be kind, and are these tools helping you in that larger goal of what I think it means to be a human, which is kindness. So
Perfect.
Yeah, I would kind of say the same thing. We're all human. We have the same fears, and we have the same wants. And I would say that this is not the same, this is not just in this city, this country, this is across the world. I've lived in India, in the Middle East, in Canada, in the US. Everyone is the same. Remember that when you make decisions and when you make choices. The person that you don't understand is really just like you.
Thank you. David.
AI is magical. It has the ability to revolutionize the world and make the world better. But we need to be mindful of the challenges, and we need to address them.
Love that. Great closing thoughts. I have questions. We're going to try to get through all the questions. And so I pulled a couple to start with, and these are fascinating. So good luck with these questions. All right. So the first one, it's just 5 words. Will AI ever stop developing?
I refuse to answer difficult questions. No.
Yeah, no,
Agreed?
well, never,
No.
never.
I wanted to say that so they can hear, so they can hear the answers. All right, so I will use this question as a follow-up to that, because do you think it's possible to become over-reliant on AI? And what do you think is the balance between using it as a tool and becoming reliant on AI? That's a great question.
I mean, if you're using AI to draft a text message, you're overusing it. I mean, it should be used. It should be used for research. It should be used when you have an idea, helping you to, flush that idea out and really create processes and procedures, not creating original thought. We are becoming robots, and the AI is becoming the creative. We need to flip the script. We need to be the creatives, and the AI needs to stay somewhat of a robot.
I like that. Flip this switch.
I want to tell a story because I always think a picture tells 1,000 words. My late father was the orphan child of an Irish immigrant mom. And so because I'm teaching in Ireland, if I could capture the records of his birth and adoption, I would immediately be an Irish citizen, which would make it easier for me to do my work. That is a perfect example of a project that AI is just magical. I mean, if I try to do that the old way, forget about it. But on AI, you can literally put some things in, and it gives you the phone number of the office in Yonkers, New York, where he lived, and the 5 Catholic churches where he might have been born. That's an example of where your capacity, your ability, is expanded by AI. The opposite end of the spectrum is where you surrender judgment and critical thinking.
Yeah.
You don't want to ever surrender judgment. That's what Sam Altman is talking about at the end of the day.
So I like that example. And so I did use AI one time to go through my family tree, and I'm getting all excited about it. I spent like a whole weekend on this thing. And I called my uncle, and he's, in his 80s. I said, Uncle Sonny, look, he's like, that's not right. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, that's not your great-grandfather's name. I said, no, I found it online. He's like, I knew your great-grandfather. So I had to go back and research. I was like, oh, man. So I was pulling some other, names.
Well, let me say one thing. Let me say one thing that I think is very important on being the discerning user of all technology. Here's the paradox of the digital age. Since you were a child, you were born with skills that allowed you to assess information you were receiving. The first one was the smile of your mother when you wanted to be fed. But through your evolution from infant to child to adult, these skills were refined. Is this person biased? Is this person have a reason to say that? Are they being paid to tell me I should buy Woolite? And so forth. When you receive information that you used to read, was it coming from the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal? You had tools. The information you receive over the internet comes to you from sources that you can't apply these tools to. And then, and this is especially true for you young people in the room, I have had students tell me every semester I've taught, it's true because it's on the internet. Let me tell you something right now, and take this to the bank. There is more misinformation on the internet than there is information. This is a good time to prove that point. The free agent season in football. There is nothing but clickbait out there about what the Steelers are going to do. One day Aaron Rodgers is signing, the next day Aaron Rodgers is retiring. Those articles are designed to get you to hit them, not because they're accurate. And so when you compare the loss of our tools to discern whether information is accurate and the fact that we are getting this blizzard of information which is twice as inaccurate, that's the paradox.
Can I just add in very quickly, you can also configure any of these LLMs to fact check and provide sources. So that is something that, if you're not doing it yet, go into your settings and actually give it characteristics that force it to fact check and give you sources.
So we work with a lot of really young kids, and what we're seeing, going back to what David said, when you're spending that much time in front of a screen, right? A lot of these kids are playing video games. What happens when you're playing games is that you get rewarded every time you cross a level, every time you do something good. And we're seeing that kids are actually believing that's how real life works, is that you need to get rewarded for every single thing that you do, for being a kid, for being cute, for saying something cute. That's not how real life works. And
No.
I think...
Yeah, I'm going to embrace my status in this intergenerational panel as the oldest person on the panel. When I grew up, you hoped to be good. If you were good, you might be famous. Now, on the internet age, you grow up to be noticed because the worst thing is to be ignored. And if you seek to be noticed, you can be noticed for being good or bad. This is playing out in many sectors in our society. Be good.
Thank you, David. So I guess what I was trying to say was, so when we're working with these little kids, right, we teach them that when you do challenging physical activity, we make them do things that they're typically uncomfortable doing, because parents don't want their kids to feel discomfort, naturally. You don't want your child to go through actual challenges, but we do that in a safe environment with a mentor, with a coach. The physical challenges manifest in a way where the kids feel like they can't do something, and then we force them to still do it, where they start believing that they are actually able within themselves to get past a difficulty, right? Because right now there aren't many places where you have to do that. And so we just had a class at Winchester Thurston a few weeks ago. And these were all fifth graders. And after probably about 15 or 20 minutes, half the class, I'm not kidding, probably even more, started faking injuries. because they were running around for 15, 20 minutes doing these exercises. Now, I work with kids a lot. At that age, kids should be able to do 150 push-ups and like do that. I know kids that can, right? Kids can do a 10-minute plank. Kids can do 20-minute wall sits. Like these are things that actually kids can do. But 20 minutes of just running around, they start faking injuries. And I think that's this idea of like, I am done, I want to give up. Mm-hmm. Catch yourself when you see yourself doing that, because you have infinite ability. And I think what happens when you're so dependent on the machines is you start thinking that the machine is more powerful than I am. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the thing you want to stay, like that's what you want to tell yourself. You are still in control. You have a way of staying in control. And that's what you want to learn to do.
Thank you so much. And quick question to the audience, because I see some common themes here in the next couple of questions. High school students, raise your hands again. Keep your hands up if you want to get a job in the future. All right, yes. They all do. So, jobs. How's AI impacting jobs? Are they taking away jobs? What are the future jobs? Jobs, AI. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, I'm going to make a pitch for the PittCyber camp, which we do June this year in partnership with the U.S. Air Force. It's the largest camp in the country. You can see about it on our website, cyber.pitt.edu, and it's free, and it's in partnership with several local high schools. The reason we did it answers the question. At the time we started PittCyber in 2017, there was a 2 million shortfall of the needed professionals, digital professionals, for the jobs. And that has now grown to 5 million. We need people to become digitally proficient. A couple of years ago at Pitt, there were recruiters going on campus asking students to withdraw from school. They would pay off their loans and give them an immediate job in the digital lane for $60,000 to $80,000 a year. These are good jobs. Now, Justin mentioned the point earlier, we are going to have a workforce transformation as the result of AI. We haven't talked about that. There are a lot of jobs that are going to go by the wayside and a lot of jobs that are going to change. And that's going to be disruption. But whatever that disruption is, those of you in the room who become interested in becoming a digital expert or digital professional will not suffer for employment.
I agree. But I also think that, I see a lot of workforce reduction happening right now on LinkedIn. And I think it's great to go out there and focus on learning these technologies. But I also do think that it's very important to focus on the ologies once again, sociology, anthropology, really understanding how to work with people is going to be a differentiator when there are so many people going after the same jobs, people in companies where these tools are now writing their own code. So yes, you can go and learn code, and granted, we shouldn't just allow AIs and LLMs to create all of their own code and things of that nature, but it's happening. Agents are happening, and so I would also say explore entrepreneurship. As teenagers, you can start a business today. You have the tools, you know how to use technology better than, I'm assuming, every single one of your parents. Go out, find the resources, start your own companies while you're young, and go have fun with it. And study the ologies, study humanities, and just think about the human cost of everything that you're doing.
So I started as a mechanical engineer. That was my undergrad. Then I went and got a PhD in biomedical sciences with a focus in cardiovascular physiology, so life sciences. Then I did some postdoc research in informatics. That's where I got my tech shops. Then I came to CMU, got a master's degree in public policy. And I did startups. I have done nonprofit, I've done for-profit, I have done investment, I've come back to startups. One skill, be adaptive. Mm-hmm. If you're adaptive, you will figure it out. That's literally the most important skill. Whatever tools you learn, you can learn digital stuff, you can learn to be a plumber. You can learn to be a craftsman. There are so many incredible things that you can still do, but if you're adaptable, you will adapt to whatever the future is going to throw at you. And that's it. Like, to me, that's the only skill. Don't be afraid of what the future holds. Be excited and train yourself to be adaptable so you don't feel like you can't control it.
Yeah, I mean, I studied anthropology. I've done fundraising, I've worked in the life sciences, I've done community work, I've worked in sports, and I'm an entrepreneur now. So, I couldn't agree more with what you're saying.
I love that. And, students are going to school to learn. Students, if you go to college, you're going to pay to learn. Jobs, you get a job and you get paid to learn. So become adaptive. So if you learn how to learn, you're ahead of the game. So this actually came from a teacher in the audience. So I want to talk about that. We know that AI is impacting teaching. Dave, you talked about that with ChatGPT. Yes, I will use it. So how does it affect teaching from your perspective in the classroom today, a year from now, 2 years from now, and what should teachers be doing to prepare?
Well, I mean, use it. I have really improved everything I've been doing over the last several years with the help of AI. It allows you to go backwards and forwards and sideways and up and down with regard to everything that you previously thought and challenged, and you can do it at such breakneck speed that it really doesn't create an inefficiency. So I encourage all the teachers in the room to really embrace it. I'm kind of a geek and a wonk, so you'll find me. The next frontier from cyber to AI is quantum computing. And so I sit at home sometimes and watch lectures from Princeton on quantum computing. Now, it takes me a while to get it through my thick head because I'm just a kid from Castle Shannon at heart. But you watch it over and over again, and then you put it into AI to help it explain to you. And I just think learning is so much easier now.
Yeah, I agree.
I think for teachers, you can also use it to break down barriers that you may be having with some of your students. Everyone learns differently, and AI will give you the tools.
Can you give an example?
In terms of
breaking down barriers?
So, say if there are certain students in your class who are just simply not understanding a project or an assignment, and you're giving blanketed information typically. I'm not speaking about all teachers right now, but you can really use it to customize your approach. If someone is having difficulties understanding a concept, use AI to put that in there and to help you create more customized approaches to how you deal with those students.
I have a completely different take on this. Most teachers are overwhelmed. They don't have nearly as much resources as they need, nor are they getting paid as much they should be getting paid. AI is your personal assistant. AI is very good at doing repetitive work, repetitive administrative work, things that you have to do outside of your class. Make the AI do it, because that's how you win. You get to spend more time with the students. You get to spend more time doing the things you love doing. Take all the administrators if there are any, but we all have administrative stuff, but take all the administrative.
Give an example, I'll put you on the spot as well.
Oh my God, creating rosters, creating reports, right? If you put in a few important bullet points, it can write for you. Then you go edit. Like anything that you do not find joy in, AI actually finds a lot of joy in creating. That's seriously the best way to use AI.
Great, thank you. So I have one last question here. I think I'd like to wrap on this question from the audience. We talked a little bit about it, but I want to go a little bit deeper in it. What are the key ethical concerns with our increasing use of AI? Like I said, I know we talked about it here and there, but I think it's good to finish on that question so we can keep that at our forefront of our minds.
We need connection as humans. In New York, they created this pop-up where you could go to a restaurant and have a date with an AI chat thing. And I understand that, we are living in a society where people feel more lonely now than ever. And so I just really push everyone in the room to use AI, again, use it with caution, and also go out and connect with people. Go on a hike, go to a park, go do something. Find a community to be a part of and connect with people, because I think it's going to matter more now than ever as we look at the next 5 months, 5 years, and 50 years.
Delvina, thank you for saying that. I was at a conference in New York City, the AI Summit last year.
Mm-hmm.
We had 3 CTOs from the 3 leading banks in the world. And they said a year ago, we sat in our offices, we kept to ourselves. We can't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're all friends. We share what we're learning with each other, because that's the only way to advance, by doing it together. So thank you for bringing
And when I worked at the Penguins, one of the things that I created was a consortium across our hockey team, the Penguins, our baseball team, the Red Sox, and then our Liverpool our soccer team. And we're completely different sports, but we shared best practices, and that's what we should be doing today with AI.
So we have 1 minute left, so any closing thoughts on AI and ethics and what you want to close out on?
I just want to add a quick thing. Anytime you're trying to build something, and go try to build something. I was sitting on Lovable last night creating an app, and it was so amazing. Anytime you build something, just ask yourself this question. Is this going to help people, or is this going to hurt people? That's it. If you ask yourself that question before you build anything, I think we're on the right track.
David, any last thoughts?
I can't improve on that comment.
Perfect. Well, hey, give a round of applause for our panelists, everyone. Thank you so much. This is so fun. I love it. I encourage you, as they come off the stage and see them throughout the day, please connect with them. Ask them questions. They're here to help you and to guide you. So again, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun, and I had fun, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Justin.
Yes,
Okay, a big round of applause to Justin.
Yeah. All right, I told the next people, I said this is how I was going to introduce them. Everyone stand up, jump on the tables, make some noise, this and that. They're like, oh, we really? I'm like, I won't say that, but I will say that. So how about everyone stand up? I want to give a big round of applause for our next opening act coming up, our musical performance. It's my pleasure to turn the mic over to Christopher Locke and Shannon Locke for an AI-infused musical performance. Everybody, give it up.
Hello, we just need one moment to get set up, and then we're going to jump right into it. Okay, hello. Thank you so much for coming today and welcoming us to campus. We're going to do a quick performance for you, but before we jump into that, I thought it would be a good idea to give a bit of a framing and introduction into some of the pieces of technology that we're going to be using to make these sounds. My name is Dr. Christopher Locke. I'm a producer, DJ, composer, electroacoustic violist, which means I have an electric viola with a pickup in it, sort of like an electric guitar, and I send that signal into guitar pedals and other effects to transform the sound. I'm also a creative coder, and I'm a professor of music synthesis at Western Carolina University, where I lead the studio for performance technology. Throughout these slides, I have a bunch of links to references of things I'm going to talk about. So if you're interested in any of this stuff, please talk to me after our performance, and I'm happy to share these slides with you. This is my sister, Shannon Locke. She's a violist and violinist, an orchestral musician, regularly performing with ensembles in the Pittsburgh area and beyond. She's a former educational director for the Cincinnati String Project, which is a nonprofit in Cincinnati. And she's a founding member of the Huldra String Quartet here in Pittsburgh. So the first piece of technology that I want to introduce you to is a piece of software called Ableton Live, which maybe some of you have heard of before, if there's any music producers out in the room. So Ableton is a digital audio workstation, or DAW. It's a piece of software used for recording, editing, and producing audio files. But unlike its counterparts, things like GarageBand, BandLab, FL Studio, if any of you have heard of those before, Ableton Live is more oriented towards the live performance aspect of electronic music, allowing you to synthesize and improvise sounds in real time. And in addition to that piece of software, I have a piece of hardware here called a MIDI controller, which is mappable to the software, and I can use these knobs and faders to control what the software is making. So one of these knobs could be, for example, the pitch of a synthesizer, and the one could be the volume, and I can perform that electronic music in a more physical way, almost like I'm playing violin, for example. Okay, so going one layer deeper, the next two slides are the most technical, so bear with me, but in addition to Ableton, I'm using a programming language called Max MSP, which is a visual programming language and environment for interactive audio, video, and multimedia synthesis. It allows you to create custom audio-visual software and is frequently integrated with Ableton Live. So it's so commonly integrated that Ableton and Max have a collaborative product called Max for Live, which lets you open up your custom instruments and audio effects that you create with Max, the programming language, and open them in Ableton as a plugin. In Max MSP, I'm using a library called RAVE, which stands for Real-Time Audio Variational Autoencoder, which is a mouthful, so we'll just call it RAVE for now. But it's basically a deep learning-based framework for generating a neural network model from audio data. So a RAVE model will synthesize sounds in real time based on the timbres and sonic qualities of the audio data you use to train it. So if I train a RAVE model using a couple hours worth of dialogue or recordings of people talking, then the RAVE model will be able to synthesize sounds that have similar qualities to the human voice. If I train a model using a couple hours of audio from violin players, then a RAVE model will be able to synthesize sounds with similar timbral sonic qualities to a violin. It's important also to note that a RAVE model can be trained on a relatively small amount of training data. That is like several hours of audio recordings as opposed to hundreds of thousands of hours, which other bigger models use. So when developing my instrument, which I call Intona, which I'm going to play today, I trained the model using roughly 2 or 3 hours of recordings of only my own pieces. So as I said, I was a composer. I have a portfolio of a bunch of compositions that I've done in the past, and I used recordings of those compositions to train this model. So I know when I'm using it for a fact that when I create sounds using Intona, I won't be accidentally plagiarizing any other musical artist. I also have a link to my website and GitHub where you can download the instrument and play around with it for yourself. And one takeaway that I'd like you to consider after this performance and this talk is this concept of small data. So in contrast to big data, a small data set would be simple enough in format and small enough in volume to be easily understood, processed, and analyzed by a single human being. And I believe that embracing, supporting, and developing AI tools which are based on small data sets will encourage a more ethical approach to AI music creation, and one which doesn't plagiarize other musical artists. So tying this back to our performance, which we're about to do, our setup here we have a violin, and we have a small clip-on microphone attached to the bridge. That's taking the signal into my audio interface and into my computer, where it's then going into Ableton Live, the digital audio workstation. In Ableton, I'm using my custom-made Max MSP instrument to affect and transform the sound. I'm shaping that with the piece of hardware here, the MIDI controller, and then that transformed sound is coming back out to speakers for you to hear. So that's sort of the signal flow that we're going to be working with. And the style of music that we're about to play kind of originated in mid-1900s with this group of French composers who dubbed the term musique concrète. And it's sort of an approach of storytelling through sound. One of those original composers, Francis Dumont, referred to it as a kind of cinema for the ears. So I encourage you, as we're playing, if you'd like, feel free to close your eyes and let yourself imagine different images, different environments, different scenes that the sound and the music might propose to you. Okay. Thank you.
transitioning into breakout tracks. So first, I'm going to ask that everyone kindly remain in your seats. There are 2 air walls in the ceiling, and they are going to be lowered into place in order to form our breakout room. So in order for that to happen, we need everyone to be in their seats while we do that. That is going to divide this Radios ballroom into 3 sections. Radios 1, which is closest to the stage, Radios 2, which is in the middle, and Radios 3, which is all the way in the back, furthest from the stage. You can also see the table signs on your table will designate what space you'll be in once those air walls come into place. If you are a high school student, please take a look at your name tag, and you can see where you are going next. If you're going to be in Radios 2 or Radios 3, my colleague Brian is going to put up the slide to show you again where you're going. Cool. So you'll see if the first word on your name tag, if you are a high school student and it says climate, you are going to go to Radios 2. If that first one says careers, you are going to be in Radios 3, but do not move yet. We're going to wait till those air walls come into place. For everyone else, all of our professionals, you'll be here in Radios 1 at the front of the room. So again, please remain seated, and once those air walls are closed, you can take a break and move into your breakout tracks. The next sessions are going to start promptly at 10:45 a.m. So we hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.